We're talking Kirk Cousins on today's episode, but I want to get the pulse of everyone watching first. Do you guys actually believe Kirk Cousins could be one and done in Atlanta? I don't. But if there are some of you out there that believe that, don't be afraid. Get in the comment section, let me know, or you can side with me, and I believe the majority in typing my N for no. Welcome on into Falcons Today. Matthew Peterson here talking about Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. Because ESPN's Dan Graziano put out an article where he went through some of the overreactions during the NFL offseason and said if they were or not an overreaction. And for Kirk Cousins, he said this is not an overreaction, that there's a real possibility Cousins could be one and done in Atlanta following the Michael Penix draft pick. Now, let's first look at what Dan wrote, and then we'll start to rip it to shreds. So, Graziano wrote, imagine a scenario in which the Falcons struggle this season and decide to move to Penix in 2024. Or how about a scenario in which the constant presence of a top 10 pick at his position looking over his shoulder frustrates Cousins to the point that he wants out? Could the Falcons trade him after 1 year? So let me start by saying if Kirk Cousins is gone after 2024, everyone's getting fired. I think that's pretty fair to say. Like, you got, when I say you, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris got Arthur Blank to sign off on writing a $180 million check. And sure, Kirk Cousins won't get all $180 million, but he's going to get all the guaranteed. And if he only plays one season in Atlanta, you are paying him $90 million for one season. That has to be the biggest payday in the history of the NFL. So if you get your boss to agree to this and then pull the plug after one season, who do you think's on the hook? Fontenot and Raheem Morris are. So no, Dan, I don't see a world where they pull Kirk Cousins this year because Michael Penix is breathing over his shoulder. They're adults. Be professionals about it. This is the NFL. Kirk Cousins was breathing over RG3's shoulder. What happened? He won the job after a couple of years. Not the first year. So no, I don't think that we're going to see them make a switch after 1 year. Because if that's the case, Fontenot and Raheem Morris are signing their death certificates. Let's continue reading. Dan also wrote, the short answer is yes, though it wouldn't be the cleanest move ever. Cousins is guaranteed $27.5 million for 2025, and he has a $10 million 2026 roster bonus that becomes fully guaranteed at the start of the 2025 league year this coming March. So any acquiring team would be on the hook for $37.5 million, more than reasonable for a good starting quarterback in 2025. None of that's wrong. $37.5 million for a really good quarterback like Kirk Cousins is an awesome deal that all 32 teams would sign up for. But Kirk Cousins, if you don't know, has a no-trade clause in his contract. So let's just say Kirk Cousins is slightly underwhelming this year and maybe doesn't live up to the contract. He signed this contract because, and he was direct about it, so he could retire a Falcon. He doesn't want to go to a new team. He did that with the Vikings. He's come over to the Falcons. It is clear he wants to stay a Falcon and retire a Falcon. He wants to ride off into the sunset in Atlanta. So I don't think he's going to be opting into a trade after one season. I don't buy it. Even if it's great for another team, you have to get Kirk Cousins on board. And I don't see that happening. Press on. From the Falcons' end, cutting Cousins after this season would saddle them with a $65 million dead money cap charge in 2025 and mean they will have paid him $90 million for one season. So that's pretty unlikely. Trading Cousins would mean a $37.5 million dead money charge for 2025, and they would have paid him $62.5 million for one season. That's also not ideal. But if Atlanta really believes in Penix and thinks he's ready at that point, it's not prohibitive. I think halfway through writing that last paragraph, Dan Graziano realized, yeah, this doesn't have a chance actually. Like, I've been there before. I've gone into a video with a premeditated opinion, and after doing research on it, I realized the research didn't really back up what I thought. And believe it or not, I just kind of alter my opinion where I go, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was. And it's proving to be the opposite. So I'll come in this with a new approach. Dan, you should have realized it ain't happening after 1 year for all the reasons you pointed out. That's the crazy thing. He did the greatest job of presenting a closing argument for the other side of the aisle. He is like a defense attorney's dream. The guy went up there and told the jury a whole bunch of reasons as to why that murder was not committed by that man, and then sat down. The defense attorney's like, I have nothing more to add. Thank you very much, Dan. You made all the points that I would have made. Kirk Cousins, bottom line, is here for 2 seasons minimum. Kirk Cousins, are you guys ready for this? Is a Falcon for 2024 and 2025. I will go out and say, it's done. This one cannot fail. The other ones might have failed. Looking at you, Bill. Looking at you, Justin. Looking at you, Dallas. Not this one. Kirk Cousins is a Falcon for 2024 and 2025 minimum. And we don't have to think of a punishment because it won't happen. Why? I've got 65 million reasons to bet on it. If they move on from Kirk Cousins after this season, there's a $65 million dead cap hit waiting for them in 2025. Like, that's just $65 million that you cannot spend on other players in free agency. Now, we have seen teams put up monster dead cap hits before. Most notably, like the Atlanta Falcons themselves. But Matt Ryan's dead cap hit when he went to the Colts was only a $40 million dead cap hit. We're talking about adding an extra $25 million on, which with the way the cap has increased from a percentage standpoint, I'm not going to do the math, but it might not be all that far off. However, Russell Wilson and the Broncos did prove this year that if you want to move on from a player, you can make it happen. And if that means an $85 million dead cap hit, like, so be it. But when it comes to the idea of Kirk Cousins being one and done in Atlanta, it's okay to broach the subject because, like, we just looked at some data that proves that teams have taken on big dead cap hits before. This wouldn't be the largest in NFL history, only the second largest. But the idea of Penix replacing Cousins after 1 season, that is an overreaction. It is. Like, when they made that selection, there was a lot of thought and preparation that went into it and a lot of planning for the future. And I don't think that plan included dumping Kirk Cousins after 1 year. If that was the case, do you think they would have signed him to a 4-year contract? No. Like, if their plan all along was, we want Michael Penix, they would have just opted to not sign Kirk Cousins and start Penix now. Or sign like Gardner Minshew, someone much cheaper. They signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year contract because they believe they can get 3 more good seasons out of him. That's the reality. And so that times up with a 5-year rookie contract, getting 2 years out of Michael Penix at the end of his deal, like we're kind of seeing with Jordan Love right now. Now, they're not apples to apples, and we've kind of gone over that before because Jordan Love was in the 8th overall pick. So if you miss on Penix, it's a much bigger blow than if you miss on the 26th overall draft pick. And also, Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers, so a little bit different. And he also wasn't the same age as Penix. But regardless, it is an overreaction, indeed, to say Penix will be here and starting as soon as 2025. It ain't happening. Now, before we wrap up today's video with the trivia question, training camp is closing in. We are less than 2 weeks away. I want to reach 23,000 subscribers before the first preseason game. We're 508 subscribers away. So if you enjoy the content we put out and you want more free Falcons content in your life, hit that subscribe button down below. Now, ESPN loves to put up a paywall for some of their really good articles. So I thought I'd give you guys a peek behind the curtain at some of the other overreactions that they had. One of them was Dak leaving in 2025. They said that is not an overreaction. He very well could be with another team as soon as next offseason as he enters a contract year. And I tend to agree with this one. That's a better take, Dan. Could we see a top wide receiver getting dealt before the season starts? He said this is an overreaction. And I also agree with that. Like, I don't think Brandon Ayuk's going anywhere. I don't think CeeDee Lamb is going anywhere. I don't think T. Higgins is going anywhere. So as fun as it is, and hey, it is the NFL, crazy stuff does happen. I don't think we're going to see one of those big-name receivers get moved. Will the Steelers be quarterback hunting in 2025? not an overreaction. I agree. Russell Wilson is on a 1-year deal. Justin Fields has 1 year left on his deal. How could they not be quarterback hunting in 2025? There is no quarterback under the contract for 2025. Then we have the Kirk Cousins one, which we can kind of just skip over after the video we just did on it. And then finally, are the Jets number 1 team in the AFC East? That is an overreaction. And I agree. I'm going to it's the New York Jets. I need to see it to believe it for them to be a competent franchise. And I have yet to see that happen yet. Sure, Rodgers getting injured spoiled that opportunity for them last year, but for now, they need to earn that privilege. All right, trivia for today. I'm going to give you guys 3 quarterbacks, and I want you to put them in order of the most amount of seasons with 25-plus touchdowns. Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford. So rank them in order, 1 through 3, of most amount of seasons with 25-plus touchdowns. If you want to think about it, pause the video because the answer is coming up right now. Matt Ryan, coming in first of the trio. He has 9 seasons with 25 or more touchdown passes. That's good for 7th best in the NFL. Matthew Stafford has 6 of those seasons, tied for 14th. And then Derek Carr has 4 seasons with 25-plus touchdowns, tied for 19th in NFL history. All right, that will do it for us on today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Dan Graziano, if you're watching, I doubt you enjoyed it, but hopefully next time you come back with some better takes and insight on the Falcons.